Welcome back to Conway, to Cape Town in 1791. The sound of your claws clacking, whatever sea legs are, you don't have them yet, announces your presence to the passenger. He turns to face you, and on closer inspection you can see that he's an African wild dog. You've not met many of those before, but the look of his fur is unmistakable, so too are his round ears, and a black muzzle that stands out against his pale fur with teeth that would be more imposing were they not tightly clenched. Ah, oh, company. Perhaps? He seems to be over the worst of it, although he flinches with the more severe waves. Still, his voice sounds more sure of itself as you near the final step of the ladder. Careful! You freeze and you have to put out a hand to catch the railing. Oh, apologies for the outburst. Please do not miss your step, but I think you are about to step on my glasses. You glance down to discover your paw scant centimeters from said glasses, an ornate pair at that. You find better footing and carefully bend down to retrieve them, holding the glasses by the bridge in the middle. So I was. I'll hold them in that case. It's probably safer that way. Thank you. And you wouldn't have wanted to damage them. The frames are thin but made of gold. They look expensive. Aristocrat, even. Now that you have a chance to examine him up close, the man himself has a similar sort of bearing. His black suit is fancier than anything else you've seen aboard the ship, even from the officers. It would have been out of place ashore too. Even the men who dressed in their Sunday finest for services don't dress like this. His demeanor, though, is hardly so imposing. He stays quiet, and you feel compelled to break the silence. I saw you up here and wanted to know if everything was... if there was something the matter. Oh, are you the surgeon? You are not the surgeon, are you? He asks, peering at you without the benefit of his glasses. No, I'm not. I don't know who the surgeon is, now that you mention it. I came aboard earlier today. It just looked like you were having a bit of a rough time. Well, that was very kind of you to take note, in that case. He's still holding the rope tightly, and his ears remain slightly drawn. The whole of his body indeed seems to have wilted. You do seem like a bit under the weather. Do you need help? No. I will be fine, I'm sure. It's just seasickness, that is all. I'm afraid I am not used to this. Well, it can happen to anyone. I wouldn't think anything of it. Really, because... He shudders and shuts his eyes tightly for a moment, taking deep breaths through his nose before he manages to calm himself down. Because there is certainly some evidence to the contrary, to anyone observing this tableau keenly. My absence of evidence, if you would rather formulate it that way. What? I am the only one on this ship, hanging over the railing, Watson. He grimaces, although it seems he's able to recover fast this time. A nice young man holds their glasses. After a moment, he tries to smile and succeeds. Mostly. I do appreciate the thought, though. The two of you lapse back into silence while the African wild dog steadies himself again. You find yourself grateful that you're able to enjoy this. For the moment, everything is fairly calm. There's the distant sound of the crew conversing and the creak of the ship's timbers and rigging. The rhythmic splash of waves against the hull as Conway truly gets on the way towards her destination. You know it can't last, of course. For now, you're promised a good meal, everyone is still reasonably clean, spirits are good, and tempers are at a low boil, Wolf accepted. But for now, you enjoy it. You only wish your companion would do the same. You're a passenger, right? One of the other sailors said he'd never seen you before. I am, yes. I suppose I do not much look the part of a sailor either, do I? It was not required for me to travel incognito, and, well, I am fond of these coves, I admit. Where does... Before you can ask him where he's headed, the painted dog abruptly leans over the railing and throws up again. You think about trying to offer some assistance, even if only a reassuring pat on the arm, before deciding to err on the side of discretion and look the other way. More fond of the close than the conveyance. I have already become something of a reluctant passenger, to tell you the truth. I see. It is truly an idyllic scene at which you find yourself gazing. He is. Oh, the sky, never mind. The sky above has taken on the orange tint of brilliant sunset. Some additional sails have been set and rustle with the minutest changes in the wind, but until you gain truly open waters, most of them remain furled. The masts and rigging cut sharp black slices through the beckoning glare of sunset. A few gulls have followed the ship out this far. They wheel, nimble, dancing silhouettes above the horizon. And next to you, the unfortunate wild dog heaves again. And again. Fortunately, by this point, he seems to have emptied himself completely. He straightens up and tucks his neatly tailored jacket back into place. Dear Lord, I'm quite sure by this point nothing is even left. What I would not give for my body to simply... The painted dog pauses, as if considering whether he needs to be sick again. No, I think that is better. What I would not give, I was saying, for my body to simply leave me alone. What do you want to do? Do we offer some advice or condolences? What kind of advice can we, as someone who's never been on a boat before, offer? Let's go with condolences. It sounds awful, sir. I was worried I might experience it myself. Count your blessings on that one. I'm sure it's just not my time yet. The only thing I know is that they say it'll pass. You get used to it. Comforting platitudes for the ailing, I imagine. He tries to smile and does, you think, seem to be recovering. I've read in a book once that you should stare at a fixed point. It is something about the equilibrium of some humor or another. Would it not be? I'm afraid I don't know. No do I, and truth be told, this has left me rather short of humor altogether. The real problem, I find. He takes a deep breath, fixes his hands on the railing, and stares at the horizon. Right at its edge, you can still see the shoreline. Is that it means you need to look at all this water. Countless ghastly leaks of it. Ghastly? Ghastly? It sounds a bit dramatic. It makes one uneasy, at least. It is strange to be leaving it behind. We weren't meant for the land, I think. I was, anyway. Perhaps I am talking nonsense in my current state. You're not. You too stare at the horizon. It's difficult to make out any details. The hills and rolling terrain of your birthplace are no more tangible and real than the markings on a map. A black ribbon dividing sea and sky. It's hard to believe you called it home. I know what you mean. It's the oddest feeling, watching everything you've ever known vanish into the distance. You are from here? I am. From... You try to point, but you've never seen your home from this angle. Is that the old church tower? Are those the peaks you used to climb with your friends? At this distance, it's all blending together. And you still have the painted dog's glasses, for that matter. I don't know. I was, though. I was from there. Ah, well, what brought you aboard? You're a passenger, too? He eyes you curiously, but unlike Arthur, or Wolf, or Samuel, you don't feel the same kind of judgment. It is more congenial sort of inquisitiveness. Perhaps he's happy to have something else to think about. I have no clue what congenial or... I do know what inquisitiveness is. No, I'm part of the crew. I just joined today. They call me a landsman, which I suppose is sort of a rank. You shrug, self-deprecating. The newest of the experience is something the two of you share, after all. Or as just polite form of what they'll call me when I can't desert. It must be exciting. I hope it is, at least, to be giving up your home like this. It is. It still is, I mean. It doesn't quite seem real. I always dreamt of seeing my hometown disappear, and now... The call of the unknown? An adventurous spirit? Maybe, yes. I wanted to see something new. Something I'd never find on a homestead. I'm not sure just what yet, but... You will find it, I'm sure. It doesn't sound naive? No, not at all. There's always a point when a young man like yourself must want to spread his wings, or hers, perhaps. He catches himself and turns back to the horizon to calm himself while he ponders that before giving a decisive nod. Yes, certainly. I think it must be a universal instinct. I'm sure everyone feels that in the core of their very being. I just wish it involved more carriages and fewer boats. For me, there was only so far I could hope to go on land. Oh? What is it you are leaving behind? Your nest, as it were? My family has a small homestead. In a good year, there are as many mouths to feed as there are plots to feed them with. In a bad year... I see. But no, it isn't quite that simple, is it? Not so pragmatic. Don't get me wrong. We got by. We could sustain ourselves, but I don't think farm life was for me. Not forever. That is understandable as well. Spend your whole life in one place, and the temptation to see other worlds would be terribly difficult to ignore. And to say that roving impulses is felt by all of us equally. There must be separate fashions for separate kinds. The spheres of our various interests and talents. Am I rambling? I don't know. A little. My spirits are lifting. That is what has happened. I do think looking towards the horizon helped, after all. Maybe it is time I saw it for what it truly is. That seems to be a rather philosophical statement, but the painted dog is clearly a man of some intellect. You try to meet him on the same ground. A nest? No, I mean, could I have my glasses back, if you would be so kind? I can hardly see you, let alone our destination or our origin. He holds out his hand. I'm not sure he'd even need the other to support himself now, let alone both. You carefully set the glasses in the painted dog's palm. He places them smartly on the bridge of his muzzle, and then adjusts them precisely until he's satisfied with the fit. Much better, thank you. He looks smart. Of course. Is the water any less troubling? Objectively, no, but I shall manage. So why the Conway then, if you're not a sailor and you don't like traveling? Traveling is lonely, in the right circumstances, of course. It is a chance of scenery for myself, as you might have imagined. He gestures at himself, and with the glasses, the genteel air is well and truly cemented. Coming aboard with no mess kit or fishing tackle or whatever sort of accoutrement I would be expected to have as a proper tar. It is, despite his scholarly bearing, a number of words and phrases you also don't recognize. I do recognize them, but accoutrements is a word I do not see very often. Perhaps Julian can help later. For now, you focus on the painted dog. But you wanted a change of scenery? Is that not the rub? I am being brought over by my patron, who desires that I work on her estate in the south. Can I be her patron too? Paid to travel the world? That sounds like quite a lovely offer. I guess you're not sleeping with the sailors either. I am not, no. The accommodations are quite reasonable, all things considered, but the voyage is, to be honest, mostly done from necessity. Even if I were one of those professorial types, installed like a statue in a library, not everything can be done that way. As such as? I am to turn my energies and industries in full on the diversity of flora in that region, thereby to assemble a compendium of such notes and such conclusions as may lead to profitable ends. That sounds important, right? He smiles, his mood improving by the minute. I should rather planned to see if any of them might be useful to my patron in her business. She's bringing me down there to allow me to do my work. As I said, I cannot do it in a library. Many of them have not been documented at all. At least, not in languages any of us speak. I will be the first. It sounds like you do have a wonderful opportunity, then. Being paid for everything, living in a fancy estate, traveling without needing to get your fur soaked in tallow and grease. His smile becomes a little gentler. True, I could not care less about the money, but the discoveries, that is a different matter. I may have preferred to stay home, truth be told, but when else would I be able to see the other side of the world like this? Never? Not the way you might, obviously. Paying for the voyage myself, no matter what accommodation, would be out of the question. I am quite sure of that. And I am not cut out to be a sailor. Even once I learned to keep my food down and my eyes looking elsewhere, I could not do it. Why? What makes you say that? Why could I not be a sailor? It's just not me, I suppose, for lack of any better or more useful way of putting it. It is for some people. As if he might have overstepped, he clears his throat and gestures to you. Nothing against you, of course. Far from it. I mean to say that it is... I am not made for it. That is the problem. It is too dangerous, too physical. He trails off and lets his hand fall. I am simply not adventurous in that fashion. Sure you are, though. You're sailing around the world right now. You said so yourself. That sounds pretty adventurous to me. Sailing around a very particular world, my friend. A very particular one indeed. Here I have a little cabin all on my own. There I shall have the estate, and perhaps even an assistant to help with my work. I feel the world around which I am sailing is only incidentally the one I shared by the good ship Conway. I suppose, but it doesn't look that comfortable for you. An artifact of my softness, though, is it not? Even once that is part, no matter what, I will not be the one climbing up these the ropes they climb? I think they're the ropes they pull on to set the sails. Nobody is aloft right now, but you recall the ones you saw other sailors scrambling up and point them out. Those are the ones they'll be climbing. He looks at you, expectantly, with his brow raised. Well, those are the ones we'll be climbing. Will? Right so. And when there's a storm, my duties will be to keep my glasses about me and my food in my stomach. Yours will be to keep the ship sound and all aboard who's safe. He regards you with what, despite his station, seems almost like genuine respect. But that's what I am cut out for. I prefer it that way. Before you can answer, the ship's bell chimes. In case you didn't understand the meaning, a sailor's voice raises above it. Dinner is ready. How are you feeling? Well enough to eat? I suppose so, yes. That's a relief. The kick is quite good, I'm told. Something to look forward to. Well, I will not be dining with the crew, unfortunately, but I hope to find out nonetheless. Perhaps we will meet again, do you suppose? Thank you for the company. I would certainly not mind sharing it again.
You are a flirt, Mr. Painted Dog. You are a flirt.
Well, then yes, I hope so. Enjoy your dinner. He cons his head, peering at you curiously, before it strikes him. Oh, goodness, 1,000 apologies. I am Nomax. It is a pleasure meeting you.
Hell yeah, we will meet again, I am sure of it.
He holds out his hand for you to shake, and while yours is clean enough to feel the gesture permissible, you take him up on the offer. It is nice to meet you, Nomax. I'm James. James, I see, yes. A pleasure meeting you as well. With a polite bow, he makes his way unsteadily down the ladder to the main deck. He is careful putting one foot in front of the other, but at least he's no longer seems like he needs to spend every moment bent over the railing. Like most of those you've met, he seems like an interesting fellow, if a bit of a character. You find yourself liking him, despite his slight awkwardness. I don't think it's awkwardness. Not really. I do find him very charming.
That is for sure.
There's not much space aboard the Conway, so you expect to see more of the Painted Dog. And if it's not looked upon favorably for the crew and passengers to mingle, well, surely Nomax would be the first to tell you that you should make your own destiny in that regard. You smile to yourself and decide that will have to be the case, and it's time for you to get going yourself. Dinner beckons. You think you can already feel yourself becoming steadier on your feet. Not as graceful as the maned wolf, Samuel, but then you've only been aboard a few hours.
Hello. I need to stop. I need to stop. I'm so sorry.
You're not, for instance, accustomed to how quickly the open-air topside gives way to the oppressive darkness in the ship's interior. There are hardly any openings to the outside world, save for the hatches that are also the only source of fresh air. Fortunately, for the moment, the dominant smell is that of fresh cooking. It's thick in the air, and you already know it will be delicious. Of course, first you have to find where it is. The last of the day's light flickers through scantly windows, sending faint beams through the rising steam and motes of dust. Beneath it are the shifting, dim forms of your fellow crew. The end of the room marks the door to the officers' quarters. You can see Arthur in conversation with some feline, a cheetah you haven't seen before. Later, the commons area is where the crew will set up their hammocks, if you understand correctly. For now, wooden crates have been set up as tables. Sailors are already occupying them, sitting, eating, playing cards, savoring the respite from the shifts to follow. On one side, tucked away in the corner by himself, Wolf has found a relatively quiet spot, though you sense it's difficult indeed to truly be alone with your thoughts on a ship of this size. Elsewhere, Samuel and Julian have found a place for themselves, apparently without having come to further blows. A few other sailors are sitting with them. You duck under a heavy beam, congratulating yourself for not discovering the sturdy wooden brace with your forehead. And now, sailor that you are, comes the most important choice of your first day. With whom do you end it? Who do you want to see out for dinner? Dinner. We have Wolf. Very cute. We have Samuel and Julian. Or Arthur. Well, I want Wolf. I'm sorry, I want Wolf. So we're going with Wolf. First though, you need to grab your share of today's dinner. The ship's cook has prepared salmon, just like Samuel said. A rather generous slice of it at that. It looks absolutely mouth-watering. The cook Bendile has even made sure to garnish it for every crew member so that it really looks the part. Is that Bendile? They look cool. I like the design. Thank you so much, Bendile. The hare looks up from his work, as if surprised to be greeted that way. Have we met? You look new here. I just reported aboard today. That's right. My name's James Kelly.
And you know mine already, eh? I hope the rumors haven't been too bad.
No, far from it. Samuel's been talking up your cooking, and I couldn't wait. His friendly smile widens into a good-natured grin. Oh, his? Well, he's gonna have a very high-pitched voice.
Oh, has he now? Well, I think you've just ensured Samuel will have a little extra care put into his next meal. He must be up on deck again.
No, he's just over there, actually. You nod over your shoulder in the direction of Samuel and Julian's table.
He's already had his supper early.
Planning to bring along a reward?
I shouldn't, but... on second thought, maybe I can smuggle him something. Talking me up like that has to be rewarded, doesn't it? I'll prepare something.
He begins doing just that, setting about the task with obvious skill. As far as you're concerned, he could just as easily have been at one of those fancy restaurants you've always heard about in the city.
So, you're one of the new pups. Already making friends, I see.
Well, trying to make a good first impression. It's exciting. My first time away from town and all.
Oh, wonderful. Enthusiasm never hurts, I'll tell you that much. The work isn't easy, and...
He pauses, dropping his voice to a playful stage whisper.
I'll let you in on a secret. The food won't always be quite this... fancy.
They told me that too. Kind of like a last hurrah on leaving port.
Indeed. It helps keep everyone's spirits up. On your third week of salt pork, that can be a bit of a challenge.
He grins though.
Every bit of him radiates an exuberant cheeriness that you imagine must be infectious. But we always manage, and for now, we have fresh fish.
Salmon, right? Benda nods crisply.
Handpicked by yours truly just this morning. One of the advantages of being in port. Seeing new things, talking in the flesh pots. It's pleasant enough. But a market, fresh food and spices, and trust the pursuer to spend his coin, of course. This is from, right down the street from the harbor.
He pauses and rubs his temple, struggling to remember the details. You can't help noticing that he keeps his fingers he's been using away from his fur. It's a subtle touch.
Finally! Oh my god, that is so cool.
So cool of a detail. Being a cook in a furry world, I mean, come on, that's gotta be like one of the hardest jobs if you don't want fur in your food. And like, I'm sure that is such a big skill. And hell yeah, finally being acknowledged in an FVN. Incredible. Thank you.
Bright yellow house. Lovely old lady runs it. Her sons have a fishing boat, and she apparently has an appetite for hare ears, given how much she chewed mine off. I could swear that her plan was to never let me leave again.
He briefly stops to rub his temples and looks over to you, as if to interject into his own sentence.
Lovely stories, mind you.
Oh, from Gerda's store? Yeah, she's You don't get out the word treasure before the hair cuts you off excitedly.
100! Right!
Yes, she's a treasure. It's a son and grandson, actually. I've known them for years. I remember when I was a kid, like years ago, my mother and I would go there occasionally. She'd always make sure to give me a bite of smoked eel. You smile with the memory, and Bendile seems to appreciate it as well. We could never afford to buy it. She just always pushed a little something into my paws.
She seems very kind. I'm not surprised. Of course, I can't help noticing that I didn't get any morsels for free.
Oh, well,
Kidding.
I'm pretty sure he's teasing you, given his personality. But he hasn't gotten back to preparing dinner either.
It's fine if you set the bar too high for how cute one has to be to earn a bit of eel. Is everyone into us? Is everyone into it except for Wolf, which I am working on. Okay, I'm working on it. But it's good, it's good. You stammer a little in response. Bandal crosses his arms in front of his chest, playing the part of a grumpy child. I'm sure that's not... no, I'm sure you're cute enough. He laughs abruptly. Its bright, warm giggle and the grumpy affection broken immediately as he resumes work. Oh, I see. None of this is what you expected to be doing on your first day. Not that you minded either. Well... A fish though, yes? Changing the subject, he grabs one of the plates. The sizzling in the skillet intensifies briefly as he pushes a fork into a piece of salmon, setting it on the plate with a flourish. Next, he adds a few stalks of asparagus and then pours a cream-colored sauce over it, thick enough that it only begins to run when the salmon warms it up. Fish, yes. What's the sauce? Lemon and dill. Nothing fancy. It's the favorite of the crew when we leave port. Something of a tradition. I'm sure you'll love it. He smiles as he adds a decorative slice of lemon on top of the fish, rounding it all off with a sprinkling of fresh herbs and generously sized pieces of bread. I'm sure I will too. It looks absolutely wonderful. It's not much of an exaggeration even. You take the plate when he hands it over to you, unable to keep from licking your lips with anticipation. He prepares a second plate. The slice of salmon is much smaller, and it's missing the asparagus, but extra food is extra food. Won't always be like this, as I said. But for now, you dine like kings. Or at least... He leans closer, giving you a conspiratorial wink as he hands the plate to you. You doubt Samuel is going to complain. Like servants who have the king's favor. There's a sudden discontented growl from behind you, and you suddenly realize you're not the only person in line.
Did Gundred or whatever teach you about fish, Bandal, or just how to yammer on like a fishware?
How do you respond? With a right hook. But that's not an option, so we're gonna go with question sailor's attitude. It occurs to you that if complimenting Bandal's food gets you an extra plate of it, getting on the cook's bad side might be a questionable decision. You're starting a bit early, aren't you? He scowls at you.
Starting early is what we're going to do tomorrow, and every day after it. Some of us would like to eat and get some time in our wrecks before that happens. Who are you, anyway?
James Kelly. I came aboard today.
Well, if you don't want to go back to shore...
Oh, calm down. Save it for when we're breaking into the hardtack. For the briefest of moments, the hair seems stern, even paternal. Then he turns back to you, smiling. It was nice meeting you, James. Oh, are you going over to them? I'm afraid not right now. Going to be sitting with someone else. I see. I'll bring it over myself in a moment then. You scan the ship's interior for Wolf, who's still sitting quietly by himself in a corner of the common area. He's polishing his plate clean with a piece of bread, making sure not a single drop of sauce goes to waste.
I can polish his plate, if you know what I mean.
He's thorough, the kind of meticulous that can only come from the discipline or prior relationship with hunger, both intimate and long-term. Devour what you can now, it might have taught him, or we might meet again one day. Or maybe you're reading too much into it. Whatever the reason, at this moment the wolf sure does look hungry. You realize he made his den in the darkest corner of the area. You walk up to him and join him in the corner.
There's a whole lot of empty space around us, if you hadn't noticed.
I did, but I figured you looked lonely out here. I just prefer quiet company. Been a busy day and a little bit of a silence won't hurt. Probably we shouldn't insult him with him being lonely. He does not like being teased. And he might just prefer the quiet company. That is my thought process, so I'm gonna go with the second option. I just prefer quiet company, been a busy day, and a little bit of silence won't hurt. The canine nods almost reluctantly. He might not be fully on board with your presence, but he seems to understand having a desire for peace. There's the last straw for your stomach, whose loud protestations are luckily covered by the creaking of wood and the noise of the crew. You formally acknowledge the complaint and pry off a piece of salmon from your plate. It's time to feast. Heavens, or Neptune? You don't know what deity sailors usually refer to while on their voyages, but what you do know is that this salmon is divine. It's rich, slightly smoky, cooked to perfection and melting on the tongue at this first sight of contact. There's some fat to it, contributing to an almost buttery texture that floods your mouth with an explosion of taste. Whatever god or goddess is that the sailors pray to, you thank them for this boon. And the sauce. Creamy, a hint of tanginess, lemon, and herbs you attempt to recognize, but by this point you're too enraptured to think. Your first bite is quickly followed by another, then another, and your meal is in full swing. Wolf doesn't seem to mind your appreciation of Bandai's cooking skills. He's okay with you being there, as long as your mouth is occupied with food rather than chatting. You keep quiet and keep eating. He does the same. There's no awkwardness in the silence hanging between you. It's the calm after the storm, so to speak. A welcome respite from all the hustle and emotions of the departure. As time passes, even the commotion caused by the rowdiest members of the crew begins to feel distant. You decide to relax with some people watching. There's a noticeable, varied representation of people on board, socializing in the low orange light. Perhaps unsurprisingly, considering the globe-trotting nature of this ship. There's foxes, an otter, uncommon but not unusual. You spot a tiger and an armadillo, a couple of birds and canines and other felines that barely register in their mundanity. You realize you've skipped over the more common species, for your hometown at least, without a second thought. You wonder at what point of the journey will they stop registering as noticeable, as you absent-mindedly take a bite out of your bread. The bread is still warm, just as fresh as if it came right out of the oven. A wonderfully crunchy outside hides a fluffy, soft center that's simply begging to be dipped in the sauce. And so you do. Oh, Bandai, you god among us, mere mortals. Maybe he's the one you should have been praying to all along. It's not even a particularly complex dish. Just some salmon, some sauce, some fresh bread. But everything is paired and balanced to perfection. You catch your tail swaying a little too excitedly, and rein it back in before it starts sweeping the wooden floor. You try to find the right words to share your excitement with your quiet companion. The meal is worthy the highest praise your mother can muster. Your mouth can muster. Oh man, this is really good. This is really, really good. Like, really good. Dude, that was awful. Wolf's ear twitches ever so slightly as you break the silence. His head turns by only a degree or two before focusing back on his plate, which he empties of the last piece of salmon. You look at the state of your own plate. It's still half full. You're taking your time savoring every single bite, while the wolf consumes his meal quickly and efficiently. Your tail stops wanting to sway. After a second or two, Wolf nods and swallows down the rest of his food. It is really good. You can't quite make out his face in the dark corner, but your ears tell you he's smiling. You believe him. Bandai, you may or may not be a god, but you indeed managed to accomplish a feat worthy of Greek legends. We talked a little earlier. Seems like a nice guy. And talk to whom? You focus on swallowing the bite you took, afraid you might choke once you start speaking to Wolf. Bandile, the cook, he makes the meals. Long ears, bit bouncy, very friendly. I know what a cook is.
He waves your over-explanation off with a snort. A piece of advice. Make friends with whoever is handling your meals. You slice one of the asparagus in half and pick it up with your fingers dangling it over your muzzle. You drop it in while waiting for Wolf to continue. It is also really, really good. That's it? Wolf nods. It feels a little laconic.
Dude, 17th century. You guys don't have a dictionary. What the fuck is a laconic?
Using or marked by a few words. Terse.
Just say terse, then.
Fancy words. I don't care much for that. You need to eat. Someone handles your food. You better be in their good graces. Simple as that. The only alternative is the grace of God, but I'm not the praying type.
Probably for the best. He wouldn't make for a great preacher.
Wolf snorts under his breath. Sounds kind of like a chuckle. Could do without that. I was wondering, though, why did you join the crew?
Wolf's eyes lock into yours, betraying a kind of emotion you can't fully read.
Why are you asking? It's just work. Money's money.
He pauses, glancing over his shoulder, the glimmer of the lamps on the nearby tables reflecting his pupils. Then his focus turns back to you.
You're not all here for thrills and adventures, kid. The ship gets me my wage and a place to sleep. Got a problem with that?
He shrugged in response. It just feels odd, that's all. There are far easier jobs around. You can't risk shipwrecking by working at a tavern.
Ooh. With that exciting ending, we're gonna finish this for now. But tune in for next time and we'll see what that breaking of glass was. Alright, I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.